All right, donSMITH, the one and only. Man, thank you so much for joining. We've been going back and forth for a minute now, so I'm pumped. We're finally able to sit down and talk a little bit. So you've been busy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I feel blessed. I've been busy, like you said. I feel I'm not really like feeling like nervous. I feel like when we have big things coming in our lives, sometimes we tend to get nervous. I feel more excited than anything, and that's a good place to be. So I also appreciate you taking the time and being patient with me. I know the scheduling hasn't been easy, but we're here now. So yeah.
No, it's an honor. When there's a will, there's a way. And yeah, I mean, man, good for you for having that center of peace, for lack of a better phrase. The transitions are tough, man. So I just did a big move myself, so I know how
Mm,
that goes. So to hear you're calm and clear eyed, clear headed. I mean, well prepared. So that's no small
word,
feat.
word. Thank you, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, so normally, I ask about the project we're discussing first, but you've had. I'm actually going to flip the script, just because you've had so much cool stuff, announced and come out recently. If that's all right. So, first, you're doing some acting, I think,
Yeah,
right, in a film. Tell us about that. That's so rad.
man. I like acting is something that's always intimidated me, but I like am very
Mm.
interested in it. I feel like I just think theater is part of a lot of things that we do. Theater is part of law. Theater is a part of being a voice actor. Theater is a part of making music and rapping, storytelling. The type of writing and rapping that I do, I storytell. So a lot of time I step into characters already. So it's cool to like embody that another way. But yeah, I've been like acting on and off for the past couple of years. I've just been trying to be in front of the camera more and take it a little bit more seriously. But um, yeah, this was a cool way to jump in for sure for Latino Heritage Month. Shout out to the people over at New York Latin Film Festival, Warner Bros, the Telly Channel, the Cutaway LLC. But yeah.
So cool. I have a million questions. I won't take up the whole time asking about it, but so you mentioned you've been doing this on and off for a few years. Did you grow up acting, or is this kind of like a whole new experience, relatively new
I hope
experience
it
for you?
looks like I grew up acting, because then that means I'm doing a decent job. But nah, I never acted before ever. In college, I took like a theater acting 101 course, so I learned. But that was more like theater. It wasn't like acting in front of a camera.
Yeah.
It's like being on stage,
Mm,
and then of course just rapping.
yeah.
I'm used to being on stage as a performing musician, growing up playing instruments and things like that. So it's not like a totally new thing to me, but reciting lines is still a little like feels a little unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did like the did memorizing lyrics transfer at all to memorizing actual lines, like skill set wise?
I mean, for something like this was very like um, we're gonna do this a bunch of times, and whatever starts to feel natural in terms of what you're saying. Like there was a general script or
Mm,
flow of conversation and interaction, but there wasn't any action. There wasn't
mhm.
any, like actual. You have to say this, and she has to say this. Yeah, so it
Cool.
was cool to kind of like do it 10 times and be like, yeah, I think it feels natural to say it this way. And then the editors,
Yeah. So almost like
yeah, kind
improv.
of. And that's kind of how I prefer to do it, honestly. That's not going to get me very far, unfortunately, but that's kind of how, like, because I come from a background of freestyling and just coming off the top of the dome.
Mm,
And, so improv kind of
mhm.
relates to it in that way. So, but I have done gigs where I had to remember the entire monologue pieces, and rapping definitely
Yeah.
helped 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. What about so you had kind of like off the top freestyle cipher type lyrics. Do you still prepare your music that same way, relatively off the top, or do you kind of gravitate more towards writing out your
I
bars
go
more?
in and out of it. Lately, I have been not writing anything. I've just been seeing what comes out, especially for like features when artists want me to be on their records. I've been seeing what the music pulls out of
Mm,
me and what the sonics pull out of me. And that's been a really cool experience because whatever's there is going to come out. And nothing about it feels forced. And I think
mhm.
that like the most natural, the most organic stuff is kind of always my favorite. So lately, that's where I've been. But sometimes I get to places where like I want to story tell in a particular way, and in order for me to do that, the best way possible is to actually write it down. So yeah.
What about like comfort with being in front of a camera versus being in front of a crowd, like an audience that came to a show of yours? Any comfort differences there?
Um, I prefer the crowd. There's a conversation that
Mm,
way. You know, I can tell if they really like this part of the song or if this song sucks or whatever the case is. So I prefer
yeah,
that because it's like I'm going off their energy, they're going off mine. It just feels like a real conversation that way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Real time
Hmm.
feedback in some
Yeah.
sense too. Um, and just one more question. I'm like peppering you on this
No,
one,
you're
but
good.
what about like how did you get like linked up to this project? Like, did you know the directors, quote unquote screenwriters, or anything like that?
So the director and the person who runs one of the main production companies for this, who casted me, I've shot with him maybe like 3 times. He did like To Be Grateful for
Okay,
my most recent project, um, which is like my favorite thing film wise that I've done. And then he did
mm,
a couple other joints from my first album, Don't Ask Me Where I'm From. So I just, I'm a
gotcha.
big fan of his work. He, story I want to tell, like I give it to him and he just makes it bigger and better. And I can't say that about everybody. So
That's super
Miguel Ortiz is his
yeah,
name.
Miguel Ortiz. All right, I'll look at his. I'll look him up because I ask all of this from like I've never been like on a stage or in a front of a
Mm,
camera, so just always really interested to hear how these things come to
yeah.
life. Really. So anyway, super cool. And another cool thing I saw you post recently. I think you have a project coming out with Mick Jenkins soon too, right?
Yeah, we have a single dropping on Friday, produced by Imani from the West Coast. It's called Gimme Space. Yeah.
So again, so cool. All right, not to if it's top secret or anything, that's
No,
totally
no.
fine. But how did that collaboration come to life?
Nothing top secret. Just the song is actually like old. Like, well, I don't mean to say it like that, but the song has been sitting on ice for I want to say like close to 5 years now. And
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah, it's been sitting there. I just kind of didn't have a place
Okay.
for it, and I really love the record, and the record has changed so many different times. But I was like, I don't know, I don't like just putting things out into the world kind of without feeling like it's going where it
Mhm.
belongs. And I felt like I finally found a place for it in my catalog, in the timing of everything else I have coming out. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and we dealt with all the paperwork stuff, and it just felt like this was the right time to do it. So I'm excited about it, though. I'm really
Wow,
excited about it.
that's yeah, as you should be. Again, such a cool collaboration, and long time coming too. So, I mean, that's as cliche as it gets, but
Yeah,
timing's
it
everything.
is.
So, um, was there anything that like clicked in particular? Like it sounds like maybe discography wise that opened up, or was it really just a matter of I could have been a combination of paperwork and timing?
Um, I think sonically it sits very well with what I have coming out,
Mm,
what released this year from my discography, but also what I have coming next. And
gotcha.
it seemed like it worked well with what he's been doing as well lately too. He released an album I think earlier this year or late last year. Beautiful. Honestly, I think some of his best work, probably my favorite project he's put out so far. But it just
Wow.
seemed like it sat kind of like at a nice compromise between our two. And that's when I thought of the record again. I was
Yeah.
like, I think I'm like feeling a lot more comfortable putting this record out now. Um,
Cool.
and then, it happens that a lot of people who listen to me also listen to him and vice versa. So
Yeah.
works out. Yeah.
Yeah. Fan bases, discography, kind of
All
the
right.
whole thing. Um, that's super cool. How did you two link up initially all those years
Just
back?
honestly, internet, like just, yeah, like
Yeah.
my manager scrolling and seeing that his manager was looking for some verses and stuff like that. And then they started talking through email. And then it was like, yo, what do you think about doing a record with Mick Jenkins? And I was at that time, I was very, very much earlier in like what I'm doing now as a songwriter. So I'm like I'm hearing it as like a fan. I'm like, I'm actually such a bigger fan of Mick Jenkins than I would even consider myself to be a potential collaborator. And he's like, well, what if I told you like you could do it? And I was like, yeah, let's do it for sure. Like, I just didn't think he was being serious. Um, so
Getting
yeah,
punked or
yeah,
something.
right. So, you know, it was just strictly internet stuff. That's one of the good things about the internet. It can bring somebody from here and here, like here in an instant. So, we found something that worked for everybody, and then, I kind of just wanted to go with a producer I trusted, somebody I was a fan of as well, somebody who could understand, I guess, both of our sounds and kind of treat it the right way. So that's why I ended up going with Imani Beats from the West Coast. But um, yeah,
Super cool. Yeah, I mean, for all, you know, the good and the bad that comes with
hmm
the internet. Just kind of one thing like that I've experienced personally is really really does open up doors for people to get in touch. I mean, I shot you an email out of the blue, and all the other artists we've talked to and done these quote unquote album clubs for have all been just because you can get in touch with people in ways you couldn't
right,
before. So lot of good, a lot of bad, but opening doors for communication. At least for my book,
for
is a big
sure.
positive. So anyway, super cool that came to be.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Pre-save it if you haven't already. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody
yeah,
appreciate it. And
for
stream it on
sure, for
repeat.
sure.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good
man.
Friday song. Um, so one question I did have. So again, kind of get into the project, but um, I think correct me if I'm wrong. When we spoke, a little while back, you had mentioned that you had a background in bio, actually. So how did you, go from being, student studying bio to being a full time artist of all, shapes and sizes?
That's a good question, man. I mean, I grew up around music. I grew up a dancer, actually. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
so I was always around music. In that way, in the beginning, my father played guitar. My family was always dancing. The holidays. It's Dominican and Haitian people, so there's always music playing, always, it's all the time. And I ended up going to college very far away from home, and I didn't know anybody out there
Hmm.
besides the few people that I got sent with from like my scholarship program, Posse. And eventually, I just got to a place where I felt the culture shock made me feel very alienated, and it's just a very
Hmm.
different demographic there than I'm used to being around, socially, academically, everything. So I kind of just felt like I didn't have a voice, and I was trying to find my way to express my voice and tell my stories. And rap ended up being that outlet. I was already like freestyling and making beats, for a long time, playing instruments, guitar, piano, drums, but none of those allowed me quite to tell my story and people that I care about our story
Yeah.
in the way like rap did. And it felt like mine. There was nobody else on campus doing that at the
Hmm.
time, rapping or doing anything hip hop related that I felt connected to culturally, and as an individual. So I just decided to do it myself, and here we are, like 7, 8 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a minute. Okay, so my next question was going to be if you had like a cohort of creatives that you worked with, but it sounds like this was something you really took on and owned
At
yourself.
first, at first, yeah, it was very independent. And then naturally, like, it started to invite in certain, that's the way energy is, right? You put out a certain type of energy,
Mhm.
naturally, it's going to attract whatever's supposed to be there. So that's exactly what happened. So one of my closest friends, my brother, damn near, Tofu Jack, he's a producer, singer, TikTok viral extraordinaire. This guy is, he's a black kid from Brooklyn with rainbow dreads who raps and sings in Japanese fluent.
Oh
Yeah,
wow!
phenomenon. But him and I
Holy
met in
smokes!
college,
Okay.
and we ended up being roommates. So we started a rap group together in college, and then that's when I started to feel like, oh damn, like maybe I'm not the only person that feels this way. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so shout out to him, big shout out to him.
Big shout. Did you pick up any Japanese?
A little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not as fluent as him, but I did pick up a couple things for sure.
That's super rad. How did he have family or spend time in Japan? Because
He's just an alien, bro. He's just an
that's
alien.
he just picked
Yeah,
it
he's
up.
just an
Wow,
alien. This
that's
is the
so
same
cool.
dude who from when he was born until now, or like maybe more recently, had never eaten meat in his life. His family raised him as a vegan.
Okay.
Like he's an alien. He's truly an alien.
Raised as a
Yeah,
vegan.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you definitely come across more and more people who pick up veganism.
Veganism, right? Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
start, yeah, full blown practice, but like growing up with that is another level. I don't know if I know anybody who
Yeah. No.
has done that their
Not
entire
in
life.
black and brown urban culture. Like
Well, yeah, sure.
being a non-eat meter at that time is just like, bro, what do you, it sounds like a joke. You know what I'm saying? So his, yeah.
Yeah,
So, all the different unique things about him have also branded into his art. So
yeah,
anyway, so him and I, we spoke a certain language together in
super cool.
college, and then we started making music together, and I pushed him and he pushed me. So
Yeah, and were you both? Did you slash you both like perform through college too, or is it more like quote not to like be reductive, but was it more of a side project or something you were really like putting you know job like internship level hours
well,
into?
I mean, as we mentioned, I was studying biology, so that's not like you can't go half-ass into biology. Yeah,
No, you
so
can't.
as much as I didn't want it to be a side thing, it was a side thing. But anytime I wasn't in class, I was in the studio, and either he was next to me or he was coming in when I was leaving at 6 a.m., 5 a.m. But and then I graduated. And when I graduated, I said, I think I'm gonna just focus on music only for like a year and see what happens. And then a year turned into two, two turned into four, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that gets to a good question. I like to ask, which is for someone for the next bio student who's working on this in whatever the bio schedule is no joke. So whatever hours are
yeah.
left, um, what would you recommend to someone who aspires to kind of where you are right now? Your number of years in the game, you got some cool collaborations, you got full projects coming out. Based upon that accumulated wisdom, what would you recommend or advise someone?
Don't try to be normal. Like normal's not a real thing.
Hmm.
There's no such thing as normal. I feel like you need to spend time with yourself and try some new things and take yourself on some dates and like
Yeah.
love on yourself in whatever way you can, through whatever, camping, making music, playing basketball, things that aren't solely academic, essentially. And I think that like academia puts this pressure on us to be like the perfect robot student who like doesn't straight, and
Yeah.
it's actually about breaking rules more than it is about following them. So
Hmm.
don't worry about normal. Normal's gonna be there. Create whatever that normal is for you, and just like challenge the go get into trouble, as Senator John Lewis. He spoke at my
Yeah. Good
yeah, good
trouble.
trouble. He
Yeah.
spoke at my graduation, and that's what he left me with.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
God
cool.
rest his soul. That's yeah.
Oh man, that'd be it. I'm sure that was
Definitely
amazing.
pushed me like into the direction of
Um,
like, yeah, I gotta go make some music for sure. Like,
yeah, yeah. Following what's
yeah,
in your heart,
yeah,
right? Um, yeah, that's so cool. And I mean, I look back on kind of those college years, and it's like a fine line, right? Like it is a time of self discovery, and it can be a great opportunity for that. But there's also taking an MCAT, right? There's only so much wiggle room there, so it's a delicate
mm,
balance to it's a line to toe for sure. But anyway, super super cool.
yeah.
Appreciate sharing that. Um, Two, that brings us to in loving memory. One random question: you mentioned Nipsey Hussle a lot on the project. I'm wondering if you have like a favorite record, a favorite project, song, lyric, etc. That, or I won't make you pick one, but like you know, in your pantheon of Nipsey moments.
Um, my two favorite records from Nip are um Blue Laces 3, I think it is, and what's the other one called? It's actually not from Victory Lab. I think it's called The Blueprint with Dave East. Those are my two
Mm.
favorite.
Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, those are good ones. How much do you like? I'm trying to think about how to phrase this question. Like follow, because what I always thought was the one thing that stuck with me about Nipsey Hussle is there's a clip of an interview at some point where he's basically like the only thing I did different, I'm paraphrasing of course, but like the only thing I did differently was
Yeah,
never give up.
I've seen that.
And that's like always stuck with me, especially as I just like speaking for myself now, but like trying to get like fledgling projects like this off the ground is like balance, just like really kind of keeping that spirit in mind. So I'm wondering, as an artist, maybe who has held a similar sentiment, like how much do you draw on other people like that, or is kind of just like something you see in the universe that is less of a path, if that
You
question
mean
makes sense.
drawing them like as far as when I'm creating or
Creating, or even like as a blueprint? Like I saw, Nip did the, I forget how much those early mixtapes were. It's like
$100?
$100,000
Yeah.
or something like that. Like either as inspiration or as like a kind of literal blueprint for what you can do.
Right. Honestly, I think for me it's less about like the things they did. It's more about the way they did what they did. And I try to extract the audacity from those moments and the genius from it in a way that's maybe not so apparent. And I think that like those are moments where I can like figure out how to apply it to what I have going on. Because I can't take Jay-Z's hustle, Jay-Z's Monday through Friday and apply it to Don Smith's Monday through Friday because we're not from the same place. We're not in the same place, excuse me, right now, and our minds are just not even wired the same after what he's been through, what I've been through. So it doesn't make sense for me to try to be Hove on Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be Don Smith, you know, overtime every week. So it makes more sense for me to kind of listen to him, appreciate him, and study what he is offering to the space and kind of pick out the things that work for me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's just, I don't want to be Nipsey Hussle. I don't want to be Hove. I want to be Don Smith. I'll get much further being Don Smith than I will trying to be Nipsey Hussle 2.0, you know, with all respect to everybody. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I think audacity is a great word choice there. That I think that really kind of sums up, because there's a leap of faith
For sure.
at some point
Yeah.
in there. So anyway, I think that's a great way to put it. Another question I had about the project. You talk about legacy a lot, and I wonder how big of a role does that play in like how you pick the projects you work on. And secondly, I'm curious what success means to you at this point. At least that's probably an evolving thing.
Well, legacy is I realize, you know, I hope this doesn't sound morbid, but I realized through losing people, family members, friends, just people transcending this plane of Earth, this realm, and going to the next, that things are finite, and that's okay. Um, and whatever you choose to do at that time is up to you, and it'll affect how your spirit remains after. And I say that in the least, like, you know, spiritual, religious aspect way possible. I mean, it's like specifically in a way of like why we still learn about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. It's the legacy they left behind, and it was the way they did the things that they did. So for me, legacy is like it can be a gift, a present that you're offering to whoever's going to come into the room after you. What that gift or present is, it's up to you. And I think that's why it's so cool because it could really be anything. It could be a recipe in a cookbook, or it could be a new way to do trigonometry. You know what I'm saying? But so legacy is important, man. We have a great responsibility.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to think about it. The idea that you're gifting someone something, and I know I've definitely come across like. I mean, like my mom's got a recipe from her mom kind of thing, and it's like the same piece of paper, like the physical thing, and just use like that one small example. But it's like it kind of trips me out sometimes to think about like how much life in some ways that like single piece of paper has seen. But again, like thinking about it as a gift that you pass on is a like really like number one conscious way to think about it, which I admire, but also empowering is another word that comes to mind. So. The idea that you kind of get to write it's going to sound a little cliche now that I said it, but like you're writing your own recipe. Like
that's exactly it though. That's exactly it.
Way to put it. Another specific kind of, this is a good, interesting jumping off point, like a specific line that jumped out to me was, I think there's a line about a casket in there. Like you're thinking about like being in a casket or something like that. And I wonder like, again, I'm not deliberately trying to make this morbid, but like, do you think about, your own finiteness often? Like, does that factor into, again, projects you pick, how you navigate,
Yeah.
etc.?
Because so I think about mortality a lot. One, because it's the world we're in. Things are very spooky right now. People are dying for all types of reasons. It's been a very wild couple of years. I never would have thought I've experienced something like a COVID-19 pandemic, um,
Yeah.
but it's devastated the world we live in. And so anyway, I've been forced to think about my mortality in a lot more ways than just, what if I go outside and I get hit by a bus? It could be anything now. So
Yeah.
um, I think that like tying into legacy, you know what I mean? It's like, well, then if that was to happen and I was in the waiting room for wherever the next place is that I transition to, and I was looking through a coffee table book that is Don Smith, it's like, would I be proud of what I was reading?
Mm.
Um, or would I feel like, damn, I wish I could write this page over again? I remember when this happened. I wish I could do this differently. And when I think I approach it that way, it makes me feel a lot more, like you said, responsible for my actions and trying to be accountable for everything that I'm saying and doing and putting into the universe. And it gives you a lot more empowerment, because it's like, damn, it's like when I wrote this lyric, I might have meant it this way, but like this other kid, like that might have changed the way he saw his whole week. That might have got him through something very specific. And I think that like when you think about it that way, it's like, well, damn, if I do have 60 minutes to be in this room in front of a chalkboard, like what do I actually want to say to these kids? Um,
Mm.
At least
Yeah.
that's how I view it. I think we're all teachers and students at the end of the day. So
It's another really cool way to think about it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, someone's going to hear your lyrics, and the same line is going to manifest different ways to different people, based upon the accumulated experience that each person
right.
has. So that kind of like open-ended impact, for lack of a better phrase, is really cool. But you're right. I think we've all gone through a lot the last handful
Yeah.
of years, and I think I'm making an assumption, and speaking for myself, but I think we've all kind of grappled with that again, finiteness and in ways that we probably didn't before. So anyway, the coffee table book's another really really good
Yeah, man.
analogy.
We got limited time here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta make it count. Cliche but true. So I'm gonna flip the script now a little bit, and for context, I was in a similar kind of conversation like this, speaking to another artist, and this artist was coming out of kind of a period of grief. They lost a loved one, and one of the themes of their album was these like just small moments of beauty that happen in like everyday life. So kind of like contrasting the mortality piece we just roped in there. I'm wondering, like, have there been any small moments that have like really stuck out to you, like small moments of beauty in like everyday life, maybe something as part of this transition, et cetera, that
Yeah,
sticks
every
out to
day,
you?
man. I pray maybe 5, 6, 7 times a day. I pray when I wake up, when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm eating my first meal, when I'm eating every meal, drinking water, showering, stepping outside, coming back home, locking my door. Like I'm praying all the time. And the essence of this project in Love and Memory is not only transitioning and accepting and welcoming transition in life, because it's part of it. Nothing stays the same forever, and that's how it's supposed to be. But also understanding the place, the significance of gratitude, and that you have to fit that in everywhere. So I'm grateful for everything, man. Like, and that sounds cliche and it sounds cheesy, but like everything. Like I'm grateful for everything. I can't, everything I do lately is
Yeah.
just based in gratitude. From the way I talk, the way I dress, the way I eat. I just think that like goes back to what I was saying as far as like
Yeah.
loving on yourself and like putting yourself in places that are like where you get to dare yourself to do new things and try new things. I just feel like there's so much beauty in the world, unlimited beauty. And because our time is so finite, we're only going to experience like this much of it. So like
Mm-hmm.
you really should be thanking whatever, the universe, God, whatever it is for you, that you get to experience that amount, because you could have just stayed in the house and not done anything and not experienced anything. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
No. Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess I'm being, I'm repeating myself now, but that's the essence, though. Gratitude is everywhere. It's all around you.
yeah. No, I mean, it almost sounds like it's almost like a form of active meditation
Hmm.
throughout the day for you. And it's really. I'm trying to think. I listened to a podcast by. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but one is done by a neuroscientist, and I wasn't a bio major. I understand very little of it, but it's like kind of cool to hear about how the brain and body work
Hmm.
together. And there was like a whole like hours long episode dedicated to gratitude practices and how and the mental and physical benefits of like having a reliable, sustainable gratitude practice
Hmm.
can be. And it's just that, right? It's a practice and a method that's refined over time. So that that's more of an open-ended comment or like a tip of the hat that you've integrated that so I guess like structurally, for lack of a better phrase, into your
Yeah.
day to day. Probably helps with the big transition too, and like you mentioned, like being really calm and centered, amid all the change and
Yeah.
everything. So that's awesome. Well, we've covered a whole heck of a lot of ground. I want to make sure I keep you on schedule.
Hmm.
Two last questions. Is there anything we didn't talk about that we should have? Anything I should have asked about but didn't? And oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think so. Um, Yeah, I don't think so. Anything that you asked,
I'll take it.
you in the time we've been talking over the past couple months, past month, you seem like you do your homework. So, everything you asked was very intentional, and my life right now, I'm about being very intentional. So I can't really say there's anything that you didn't ask that you should have.
All
Yeah,
right, I'll take it. Well, and like I said, I know I did this in slightly a backwards order, but any projects you want to plug, anything that's coming up that people should keep an eye out for, be aware of,
definitely.
etc.
First and foremost, Gimme Space, Don Smith, Mick Jenkins, produced by Imani, out September 2nd, this Friday. I don't know when this video is dropping, but Give Me Space, out September
We'll get that
2nd.
clip out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super excited about it. You guys should be too. I don't really drop a lot of singles, so I'm more of like a album EP kind of guy. So this is exciting. These next couple months are going to be really exciting because I'm going to be dropping some really dope content, and specifically for people who have been riding with me for a while. Um, like we said, it's a lot of transitions happening right now in my life, and I want to be able to bring those people along with me. So yeah,
Well, cheers. I know you got a lot going on. I know you could have spent your time this evening doing any number of things. So I sincerely appreciate you swinging by to talk for a little bit. I enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, we covered a whole heck of a lot. So I really appreciate again you carving out a few minutes
yeah,
to talk.
man. Everything's based in gratitude, man. For you as well. I hope in the future I'm a little easier to work with and to deal with, to schedule with. But yeah, man, I appreciate your time and your intentionality for sure.
Cheers. Cheers. All right. Well, we'll talk soon. I'm sure. Good luck. Godspeed. All that good stuff. Take care. Have a good one.